Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Kelly Clark once again. I am back with another episode, and today I want to talk about um, something I find incredibly difficult being in the chair, and something that ultimately is one of the sources of my depression. Um, One of the things for me is, you know, having to one of the things I find challenging is when I enter into a relationship. Um, One thing I take into consideration is, are they going to be able to handle me being in a wheelchair? Are they going to be able to handle me being disabled? You know, and it's not just relationships like romantic relationships, it's friendships as well. Like, for instance, every time I step foot in a church or I roll into a church, people think, you know, me being disabled is not part of God's plan and I need to be healed. Like there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with disabled people in general. Newsflash, there isn't. Um, you know, I've I've come to learn slowly, and I've come to slowly accept that this is the way things are. Things are never going to change. Um, I'm going to be this way for the rest of my life, unless there's like some sort of advancement in medical technology um, and science. I mean, you can hold out for a miracle as much as you want, for as long as you want, but in the end, you know, some things are just not meant to be. Um, so if you ever go to church and you hear people say, well, God doesn't want you in that wheelchair, or you're not meant to be in that wheelchair, well, I got news for you. You shouldn't listen to those people, because those people are just being unrealistic, in my opinion. And I was touching on this topic because I've come across this in my own life. I've had people say, well, you're not meant to be in that chair. You're meant to walk. The chair is not part of God's plan. Um, you're meant to be walking around like everybody else. In my opinion, that's just, judging people. And, you know, the one thing is that we're not supposed to judge other people. We're supposed to accept them for who they are and not judge them for something that they didn't ask for, or something they can't control. you know um, and I find it really annoying that people view it as some sort of mistake, or some sort of, I don't know, something that, people in wheelchairs are not normal by any means of the word. I got news for you. We're more normal than the rest of you. And we don't look down on others simply because they're different, simply because, you know, and it's people like you that make us not want to go to church, that make us, want to hide in our homes and be hermits and not socialize with people. People in religious communities, I'm not saying this for all religious people, but the ones I've come across so far, they need to realize the damage they're doing and the damage they're causing to people like me, what it does to our self-esteem, our self-confidence, saying, God will heal you and you'll walk. Like, I don't know if I've probably touched on this subject before, but this subject really gets under my skin because it makes me want what I can't have. It makes me feel like I'm not supposed to be in this situation. I'm not supposed to be in this chair. I'm supposed to be walking around like everyone else, you know? But there comes a point when people and religion and all this, they just take it too far. Um, that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking it too far. You know, here they're teaching, they're not supposed to judge. And yet, here they are judging people with disabilities or people with depression. And, you know, that really gets under my skin. And I think I can speak for everyone who is disabled or struggles with depression, who has faced this going to church. I thought church was supposed to be about community and love and acceptance. You know, not trying to tell people, oh, God doesn't want you this way. You're not meant to be like this. You're meant to be quote unquote normal. Well, guess what? There is no definition of normal. Normal is whatever you make of it. Who cares what someone else thinks? That's who cares what someone else thinks of you? That's their problem. That's not yours. The only voice you need to listen to is the one inside your head, the one telling you not to listen to the naysayers and the ones who are negative and the ones who are always putting you down. It took me a long time to not listen to that voice in my head. And some days I still struggle with listening to that voice in my head. In my opinion, just because you're in a wheelchair or you're disabled or you're depressed, there's nothing wrong with you. You are completely normal, and you are the way you are meant to be. You are the way that God made you to be. And don't ever let anybody tell you any differently, because you are worth it. And you know what? This life is worth it. You just gotta surround yourself with the right crowd and the right people and the right places and the right things. It took me a long time to learn that. It took me a long time to learn, and it still takes me a while to learn, that you need to love yourself. You are not your disability, and you cannot let your disability define who you are and the person you are. And you can tell people if they don't like it, and if they don't like you simply because you're in a wheelchair, or you look funny because you're disabled. Well, guess what? You can tell those people just to go away and leave you alone. I do not welcome those people into my life. And you shouldn't either. You know, I will say this though. I know firsthand all those feelings that everyone has, those negative feelings about themselves, because I've had those too. I've had those, and I've had to tell myself, this is not the way things should be. Things do not have to be this way. You don't have to think this way. You don't have to look at yourself this way. You need to start viewing yourself as other people in your life view you, as a strong and independent person. Um, like, sorry, I'm thirsty. Um, somebody tells you you can't do something because you're disabled. You know what? You take what they say and you shove it right back in their face, and you prove them wrong. You prove them that you are stronger than they tell you are. They tell you you can't do something. That should just drive you more to want to do it. That should give you all the motivation you need to do something. You can do anything you set your mind to, regardless of your circumstance, regardless of your disability. I mean, look at me. You're talking to a guy who hasn't had a job in over a year, and he's still out there trying to look for work. And he's trying his hardest to try and find work and find a job. I haven't given up the fight. I will not give up the fight. I mean, do I have those days where I'm negative and I say, oh, I won't be able to find a job, or it's hopeless, or, stuff like that? Of course, I do. But I do not let that get me down. I do not let that define me. I do not let that destroy me. I pick myself up, dust myself off, and continue on and just keep fighting. You know, your disability does not control you. You control it. Your disability does not define who you are. It's only a part of who you are. It's not the whole package. You know, for a long time I thought nobody was ever going to be able to love me simply because I was disabled, and I would be too much of a burden on that person, and they would eventually leave me because they just didn't want to deal with it anymore. You know, but I've now come to understand that you gotta be patient. Um, that's all you can do is be patient. Um, I know that's all I've been doing. And I would love to hear some stories from people, some hardships that I can share here on my podcast. You know, share some of your personal inspiration. Who inspires you? Who teaches you to be a better person? Um, you know, things like that. And if you need help, or if you're listening to this podcast and you think, wow, this guy's amazing, I want to get in touch with this guy, you know, you can get in touch with me anytime. I've given my email address multiple times in previous podcasts. And yeah, I want everybody to know that I do this podcast not just for myself, but I do it for you. I do it to inspire people. I do it to teach people. I do it to shed light on subjects that other places won't even bear to shed light on. Um, you know, if I could leave you with one piece of advice, it's this. You are stronger than you think. And you are stronger than you know. Um, I'm gonna let you guys in on something. I've dated a few girls in my life, and there was one girl I dated. Her name was Jennifer Cordarelli, and she used to always, tear me down and say I would never find anyone else because I was in a wheelchair and because I was disabled. And, it used to get me down a lot because I used to believe it. Sorry, I misspoke. I used to believe it, but I've grown a lot since then, and I've realized that that was just her opinion. That wasn't the opinion of a person who mattered, of a person who actually cared about me. Um, she was not a true friend. She just liked tearing other people down because it made her feel better about herself. It was people like that caused me to think negatively about myself and look at myself negatively. And you know what? I had to cut those people out of my life. And you know why? Because those people were just cancer. They were toxic. They did not deserve my friendship. They did not deserve my kindness, my respect. I've come to realize who my real friends are and who are the real people who care about me, who actually give a crap. And to those people, I say thank you. Thank you for always believing in me and always giving me the courage to carry on, even when I thought I was out of gas and had nothing left in the tank. I thank you very much. Um, you know, and I've come to realize that the people who were carrying me down and who were saying those negative things, they were saying those negative things because that's all they know. That's all they know is negativity. They don't know positivity. They don't know how to behave in a positive way. And, you know, it's just, that's when you have to realize who your who your real friends are and who's got your back and who's not going to say negative or do negative things, because you don't need people like that in your life because people like that are just going to end up dragging you down with them, making you as miserable as they are. Excuse me. Um, I've come to learn that such people are not worth the effort or the time of day. You know, um, And I know I kind of jumped onto another topic, but you just gotta think, who is worth keeping around and who do I need to get rid of in my life? Who's dragging me down and who's lifting me up? For me, it's my mother and my friend Claudine. They are the positive influences in my life. You know, they inspire me every day. And I thank them for it. Both of them. I love them both very much. And you just need people like that in your life. You need positive people. I'm going to give you a quote from something I made in art class once when I was in high school. It was a poster, and on that poster it says, "You attract what you think." Ergo, if you think negative thoughts, you're going to attract negativity. If you think positive thoughts, you're going to attract positive things, positive people, just a more positive outlook on life. And, you're just, you gotta think positive and you gotta look at things in a positive way. I know sometimes it's easier said than done, believe me. But it can be done. You just gotta put the effort into it and make it worth your while. And yeah, and I know sometimes you may feel like a burden to your loved ones, your friends, your family, but you're not. I know it took me a long time to tell myself that. And, yeah. But, you just you gotta put positive energy out into the universe as best you can and try and move forward. Try and be happy, be positive, and yeah. Anyways, I am your host, Kelly Clark, signing off, and I will see you next time, next week, same day. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this segment. I will see you next week. Bye.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.